This is David, and this is part of the K4 module, Knowing the People. And, I may be repeating myself here because I feel like I've had this thought before, and I've probably said this before, but possibly concerning other modules, but it certainly bears repeating. And that is that you need to tap into your current resources when you want to meet people. So many times people think, I don't know anyone. How can I get to know people? It's so hard. I don't want to call anyone. I don't want to call a bunch of strangers, send strangers email. That'll never work. And trust me, I know exactly how you feel. I am such a coward when it comes to that type of thing. But, I always find that when I do it, it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. But what I would suggest is that you, before you do any kind of cold calling or emailing or searching or any of that stuff, you've got to exhaust all of your own resources first. Ask everyone you know, ask everyone if they know someone who is in the business, okay? It doesn't matter what facet of the business they're in, because whatever facet they're in, if they're in the entertainment business, there's a guarantee that either your friend or colleague or family member knows someone, that person knows someone, and then that person knows someone. Someone knows someone that can make a difference in your life, that will take a meeting with you and give you a chance to get to know the business better. Here's a little story. I lived in an apartment complex in Santa Monica, and, I'm a bit of a shut-in. I'm like the little old lady who spends way too much time in her apartment, doesn't want to go out. And I've been like that. I guess I'm just a natural introvert most of the time. And, this guy moved in next door to me, and he was kind of this brash older guy, New Yorker. We got to talking and chatting. And as it turned out, this is less likely to happen in some towns than others, but as it turned out, he was a second AD on commercials. He worked on hundreds of commercials. He worked on feature films, the whole bit. Mostly as a second AD. I guess he never really had aspirations to become a director. But we got to talking, and I told him I was an actor, and out of the blue, he's like, he's telling me about all of his exploits, but he wasn't in the business anymore. But he said, my one son is an executive producer, and my other son is a camera guy. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I was thinking, I should meet the son who's a producer. But then I thought, I'm like, what's he going to do for me? I'm like an actor who doesn't have any credits, and he's this big guy who, has a personal relationship with Tony Scott. And so I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to ask for any introductions there. And then he goes, and my son, who's the cameraman's ex-wife, she's a commercial producer. And then I'm like, now that's interesting. I said, well, you know what? I'd like to meet her. Oh, good, because she lives in the building. She lives directly below you. And I'm like, wow, I live in a building. I need to get out more, because the woman who lives beneath me is a producer. And so he said, well, I'll introduce you. And he ended up speaking to her. And he said, they're shooting a commercial this week. If you want to go, hang out on the set, go ahead. And this is a good story for two reasons. Because one, I went and I hung out, and I didn't know really why I was being asked to go. I thought they were just doing me a favor, come show up. So I just showed up, and I hung out and tried to stay out of the way. And anyone that came by, I would sort of talk to them a little bit. And I ended up meeting this guy at the craft services table eating snacks who, he was an actor, but he works on productions. And I asked him about, I had never even taken an acting class at this point. Okay. So